can't pay you what you ladies think you deserve. They can pay you what you're worth, but what you think you're owed, WNBA doesn't have enough money to cover that expense. Mark Cuban very politely, shout out to you, Mark, very politely says these teams in this league, they don't make enough moolah. The league doesn't make enough moolah to pay you guys what you want. Sorry, it's the reality of the situation.
C1 The league is broke. For words that just sent shockwaves through the entire WNBA salary debate. And those words didn't come from some random voice on Twitter. They came from someone who has spent decades inside professional sports ownership. Someone who understands exactly how these financial systems operate. Mark Cuban just stepped into the WNBA conversation, and what he said is making players, owners, and fans deeply uncomfortable because he didn't soften the message. He didn't play politics. He simply laid out the math, and the math is harsh.
Responding to the latest news that WNBA players are asking for an average of 27.5% of league revenue and team-provided housing for all players in recent CBA discussions. The WNBA's response, unrealistic and would cause hundreds of millions of damage. Let's get into it. The crazy part is that no matter what the WNBA does with salaries, every star college player will take a pay cut to play in the WNBA.
Here's what sparked Cuban's response. WNBA players recently asked for 27.5% of league revenue in their CBA negotiations. They also want team-provided housing for all players. The league's reply, unrealistic. They warned it could create hundreds of millions in losses. On the surface, 27.5% sounds reasonable, right? NBA players receive roughly 50% of revenue. So WNBA players are asking for about half of what the men get. Seems fair, except there's one massive issue that keeps getting ignored.
I saw Rose talk about this, shout out Black and White Sports too. This is happening in the NFL too. If memory serves me correctly, Cam Ward, last year, prior to his final season in Miami, so 2 years ago at this point, declared for the draft. Miami said, hey, we got a big fat bag for you here, more than you would make being a rookie in 2025. Come to Miami, we'll pay you, and then you can go to the pros. Cam Ward said, bet, I don't want to take a pay cut, and I don't want to sit either. I'll come back to college, I'll make a massive amount of money, and I'll play for Miami.
College athletes are now making more money than WNBA rookies. Let that really sink in. The top women's college basketball stars are reportedly earning between $500,000 and $1.2 million annually through nil deals. Meanwhile, a WNBA rookie salary sits around $76,000. In some cases, players are effectively taking a pay cut to turn pro. We've already seen similar situations in football. Cam Ward ran the numbers and stayed in college when the money made more sense. Carson Beck is facing a comparable decision right now. And this trend isn't limited to bench players, it's affecting stars.
Star player on a power conference women's basketball team. $500,000 to $1.2 million. And you're always a free agent with the portal. You get your room and board paid for, and you can get a good education if you work at it. It's all subsidized by donors and shared school revenues, which makes it more similar to Europe, where companies subsidize teams than to the WNBA. In the NBA, a team can't go to a sponsor and negotiate a direct payment deal for a player. In college, they effectively can with NIL money. When I have written checks to IU, I knew which players we're trying to get with the money. Quote, parentheses, although I never tied the money to specific players.
Cuban's proposed solution is genuinely interesting. He argues the WNBA should mirror the college nil structure. Let teams work with local sponsors to create direct compensation deals for players. Legalize it. Set per-player caps based on experience. Allow sponsors to supplement salaries without blowing up team finances. In college, when Cuban donates to Indiana University athletics, everyone understands where that money ultimately goes. It's not officially earmarked for specific athletes, but the pipeline is obvious. Cuban believes the WNBA should adopt a similar ecosystem.
WNBA teams don't have the margin dollars from tickets, sponsors, and shared revenues like TV to pay bigger salaries using their own cash flow. Own cash flow. Now these players would say, hey, why don't you just dip into some of your Brooklyn Nets cash? Why don't you just dip into some of your Golden State Warriors cash? Why don't you just dip into some of your Portland Trail?
Then Cuban delivers the core reality check. He says WNBA teams simply don't have the margin from tickets, sponsorships, and shared media revenue to fund dramatically higher salaries out of their own cash flow. Read that carefully, the cash flow isn't there. From his perspective, this isn't primarily about ownership being cheap. It's about the underlying business math. The revenue base is still developing. Many players want owners to tap into wealth generated by affiliated NBA franchises, the Brooklyn Nets, Golden State Warriors, or Los Angeles Lakers. Cuban's blunt response: that money belongs to those businesses, not automatically to the WNBA operation.
Legal. Create a cap per player based on years of experience. Yes, some teams will suck at it. That's where the WNBA comes in to help. They will suck at it as well for some period, but like collegiate NIL, the sponsorship packages will supplement player salaries without undermining the economics of the teams and league itself. The next question will be competitive balance issues. The big markets can do this better. They have a great addressable market for sponsors. The WNBA could require that some percentage of the NIL money deals go into a pool for a version.
Cuban also acknowledges market imbalance. Larger markets will naturally land bigger nil deals because they have deeper sponsor pools. His fix: create a revenue sharing pool where a percentage of nil money gets redistributed to smaller market teams. It's similar to how jersey sponsorship revenue works across leagues. The biggest value from a jersey patch often comes from national exposure, playoff games, national broadcasts, merchandise, so the money gets shared. Cuban is essentially proposing the same framework for player nil income. From a structural standpoint, it's not a bad concept.
Obviously, I'm just spitballing this, but if they came on Shark Tank, that's what I would suggest. What do you think? Well, you know what, Mr. Cuban? For just spitballing this, I'm not mad at it. Yeah, some places will have an advantage, and you can't get around the advantage to a certain degree. But I'm for it. I'm for it. What's the difference between that, right? Let's say, right? Some places will have a...
But there's still an uncomfortable reality. Some markets already provide massive built-in advantages. Players sometimes accept lower base salaries to play in New York because endorsement opportunities are huge. And star proximity matters. Caitlin Clark has dramatically boosted visibility for teammates and opponents alike. Situations like these already create uneven opportunity across the league. Cuban's model wouldn't create imbalance. It would simply make the existing dynamics more transparent.
If true that the league isn't profitable and able to stand on its own, does any of it matter? Just let it fold. It's subpar basketball. Once everyone is done pretending to care about it, it'll fade away naturally. Yikes. Yikes. The big problem is that no one watches women's basketball because the level of competition is so low. Men are so much better at the game. This looks like a woman saying this as well, so I don't want to see anything in the comments. Men are so much better at the game that you're essentially watching middle school level hoops. The game is boring for everyone that doesn't see it as a social cause. Damn! Damn, damn, damn.
The public reaction to Cuban's comments reveals the emotional temperature of this debate. Critics argue that if the league isn't consistently profitable, the current salary demands don't align with business reality. Supporters counter that investment and growth phases often precede profitability in emerging leagues. The truth likely sits somewhere in between. What's clear is that the conversation is no longer just about fairness, it's about sustainability, growth strategy, and how quickly the WNBA's revenue engine can realistically scale.
With the WNBA, that they all think they are or should be as big of a draw as the one player in the league who is a bona fide superstar. So they think they are all the reason for the Caitlin Clark effect. Players think the massive bump in attendance and ratings is to see players who don't actually fill the seats or make people watch games. WNBA commissioner thinks it's due to a new mobile app. I'm not making this up. And because of other rookies not named Caitlin Clark who have large social media followings, but again, do not put asses in seats or draw ratings. David Webb, you're cooking here. Other stakeholders want the league and its success to develop according to what they want. A product showcasing Black and LGBTQ, you forgot the plus, women playing a half court, elbows in the paint, 80s NBA physical brand of basketball, instead of embracing the full court, fast-paced, exciting brand of ball that their lone household name has introduced to the league. That actually does bring a bigger audience and fill the seats. Like the video, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.
But here's where it gets especially interesting. One detailed breakdown online really cut to the heart of the issue. The argument was that the ownership and incentive structure may be misaligned. Some players believe the surge in attendance and ratings reflects broad demand for the league's overall talent pool. League leadership, including Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, has pointed to digital strategy and product growth. Other stakeholders emphasize identity, culture, and style of play as key drivers. Meanwhile, critics argue the league should lean fully into the fast-paced full-court style that its biggest new star has helped popularize. So what's actually happening here? This isn't just a money dispute, it's a disagreement about where the WNBA's current value is truly coming from. The so-called Caitlin Clark effect appears to be real in measurable ways. League attendance has jumped significantly during her rookie season. Broadcasts featuring Clark have drawn dramatically higher viewership than typical games. Contests without her generally return closer to traditional WNBA averages. That gap is difficult to ignore. The challenge is that leagues rarely want to attribute growth to a single player, even when the short-term data suggests a major star impact. Stakeholders often prefer to frame momentum as the result of collective progress, improved marketing, rising appreciation for the women's game, and broader cultural shifts. There is likely some truth in all of those factors. But from a pure audience behavior standpoint, star power clearly matters. And that creates tension inside salary negotiations. Mid-tier players benefit from overall league growth, higher visibility, stronger sponsorship interest, and improved business conditions, even if they are not individually driving most of the new audience. That dynamic isn't unique to the WNBA, it exists in every major sports league. The difficult question is how to structure long-term compensation when a large share of short-term growth may be star-driven rather than fully distributed. This is where the sustainability concern comes in. If revenue spikes are heavily influenced by one breakout star, decision-makers have to ask hard questions. What happens if viewership normalizes? What if the casual fans who tuned in don't all stay long-term? Locking in major fixed salary increases based on peak moment numbers can create risk if the growth curve later flattens. Cuban's nil-style concept attempts to address that volatility. By allowing outside sponsorship ecosystems to supplement player income, separate from core team payroll, compensation can scale more directly with individual marketability. If a player drives major attention, sponsors naturally pay more. If overall league revenue fluctuates, teams aren't locked into unsustainable fixed costs. Whether that model is the right long-term solution is still debatable. But what this moment clearly reveals is that the WNBA isn't just negotiating percentages, it's navigating how to convert a surge of star-driven momentum into durable, league-wide economic growth. This also speaks to the equity debate because right now Caitlin Clark earns roughly the same base salary as players who draw a fraction of her audience. In most entertainment industries, compensation scales more directly with demand. Think about Taylor Swift. Her earnings dwarf opening acts because the market rewards the draw she brings. The WNBA's current salary structure compresses the difference at the team payroll level. Under a nil-style system, Clark could theoretically earn millions through sponsorships on top of her league salary, while role players might earn far less. Supporters argue that this reflects market reality. Players who generate more fan interest attract more sponsor dollars. Critics counter that large disparities can create locker room tension and competitive imbalance. Both concerns are legitimate in pro-sports economics. The broader tension is philosophical as much as financial. The WNBA has long balanced two goals: building a sustainable sports business and advancing broader visibility for women's athletics. Those goals usually align, but in labor negotiations they can pull in different directions. Leagues typically try to maintain some salary structure parity for competitive balance while still allowing stars to earn more through endorsements, a model already common across major sports. Financial context also matters. The WNBA has historically relied on support from the National Basketball Association ecosystem while working toward long-term profitability. That makes owners cautious about locking in large guaranteed payroll increases before revenue growth fully stabilizes. From the player's perspective, however, recent surges in attendance, media deals, and sponsorship interest strengthen the argument that compensation should rise meaningfully. Where Cuban's nil-style idea gains traction is in expanding the total money pool rather than just redistributing league revenue. If outside sponsors can legally and transparently pay players more, star earnings can grow without immediately stressing team cash flow. Many leagues already operate this way informally through endorsements. The question is whether formalizing and coordinating it at the league level would help or create new competitive gaps. The college-to-pro pipeline adds another layer. With NIL opportunities in college sports now substantial, the WNBA does face pressure to ensure top prospects see clear financial upside in turning pro. Supplemental sponsorship structures could help, But they would need guardrails to maintain competitive balance and labor harmony. In reality, this likely isn't an either-or choice. Most successful leagues combine structured base salaries tied to league economics, a robust endorsement freedom for star players, and revenue growth strategies that lift the entire ecosystem. The real challenge for the WNBA is converting its current momentum into durable, broad-based revenue, so that both star-driven income and league-wide salaries can rise sustainably over time.